Hello and welcome to episode 17 of the Knitting Traditions podcast. My name is Inga and you can find me on Instagram as Knitting Traditions and on Ravelry as Knitting Tradition. This is a podcast where I talk about what I've been knitting on and a little bit of live chat at the end with sit and knit with me section. And if you're new, welcome. I hope you enjoy this content. And if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. As you see, I'm still in a temporary home at my cousin's place. I decided to paint the kitchen where in my old apartment that I moved back to. And until I have done that and the kind of gases have disappeared, I'll be living here for a few more days. So, let's get into knitting. In the last episode, I showed off this comfy gray sweater. This is a sweater that I made up top down with some increases on the body part, then increases on the sleeve, and then at the body again. It's sort of like a raglan increase, and I did a slipped stitch detail on the arms, front and side of the body. I knitted in the petite wool by We Are Knitters, and it's a very soft yarn. It pills a lot. If you can see this, it's already pilling a lot. And I also used a pill remover earlier today, one of those electrical ones that kind of eats up the pills. But it's a very comfy stay-at-home sweater. And I just got home from the mountain. I went skiing for the past week with my family, and I had this with me as one of those sweaters to throw on when I got inside. And it's been lovely. Since the last time, I've been knitting quite a bit. Not as much as usual because I started a new job, which I will talk about later. But I forgot last time to show you a finished object. This shawl, and this is a shawl which I have knitted with some handspun alpaca fiber, which I bought when I was driving on the east coast of Norway, because I live on the west coast. And there was this alpaca farm along the road which said that they sold yarn, so me and my cousin stopped there. And the lady on the farm, she has, I think, 9 or 11 alpacas, not a lot. And she cuts the wool or the fiber off herself. She washes it, spins it, and then she sells it. So the brown color in this is from the alpaca named Ariel, and the white from the alpaca named Milo. And I think this is probably the most expensive knitted item that I own, but it's all made by hand, so it's very much worth it. And it's not really a pattern. I did one of the simplest ways of making a shawl, where you increase in the middle on every second row. So, because you need back and forth, right? And then you also increase on the side here at the beginning of every row. This kind of doing increases I learned the first time when I was knitting the Age of Steam and Brass shawl, which is a free pattern on Ravelry. I just did stripes for this one so that I could use up all the yarn that I had. And I had a bit more left of the Milo's fiber than of Ariel's. So I did an I-cord edge just along the bottom, not the top, because I ran out. But that's okay. I think it's really nice as it is. alpaca fiber is very soft. To me, at least, it's very soft. I did wash it. I still feel like it has a bit of grease in the fibers, so I'll probably keep on washing it until I'm satisfied. But it's a nice, snugly warm shawl, and I wore it skiing underneath my jacket, but then I wore it this way because the wind was coming into my jacket and it was -20 up on the mountain. So I wore it like this underneath my jacket just to have that extra protection on my neck when I went cross-country skiing. And that was great. It has a little bit of like fluffs. It's not exactly pills because of the yarn being a bit unevenly spun. But I think it just adds to the charm. So I think I'll wear this because it's a bit cold inside. I just got home and my cousin is also up skiing with her family. So it's been cold inside the apartment. So yeah, really happy with this. I hand washed this the first time because I didn't know how the handspun would behave if I threw it in the machine. And I took a little footage of how I hand wash my knits and wet block them, and that's underneath the highlights on my Instagram profile if you're curious. Next time I'll probably just throw it in the machine because that's what I usually do on a wool program around 30 Celsius with wool soap. And if I ever felt something by accident, I will let you know. I was actually felting something on purpose yesterday. I'll see if I can put in a video or footage of it here because I made a felted beer mitten for my aunt. She came with a request asking if I could make one for her because her friend had one. And so I got some thick wool at the only store who had yarn up where we were. And this is Linda Garn Fritidsull. And it's basically just a bulky weight. It's 55 meters per 50 grams. And the pattern uses, or the beer mitten uses up 3. So I had a mix of grey and yellow, made some stripes. You start by crocheting a circle, which is 10 to 12 centimeters wide. Then you pick up stitches with 6mm knitting needles around that circle, and you just knit back and forth in garter until you have 23 garter edges. And then you join in the round and knit stockinette until that part is equally as long as the garter section. Then you put that knitted section into the garter one and sew it along the edge of the crocheted bottom. And that creates a hole on the side where you pick up stitches and then you knit the arm part. And it creates quite a big sized mitten. So you felt it. I felted it in the machine on a regular cycle with 50 Celsius and regular soap, so not wool soap. And I had to repeat it 3 times. So I think it was in almost 2 hours or 1.5. I kept checking on it until the size was perfect. And I measured it on my hand and I put a beer can or a soda can or whatever my aunt had inside to see that it fit nicely. And it did, and she was really happy. I also tried to crochet an M on it, which is the first letter of her name. That one didn't, it kind of got a bit wonky with the felting, but you could still see that it's an M, it's just kind of broad. But she was happy with it, and I'm going to be making another one, but mine will be mainly yellow because I have more yellow than gray, and it's going to be one of my Easter mittens. So whatever beverage I'm drinking, I can drink outside in the sun, even though it's quite cold outside. Oh, and yes, I forgot to tell you, I'm also wearing my new design, the Slouchy beanie, because bad hair day. And this one I knit in Regia premium merino yak yarn, which is actually a sock yarn. But my head is sensitive and the merino yak fibers are soft, so I can wear it on my head. Other than that, last time I showed you some lovely yarn that I got from my friend Suzanne. So I of course immediately cast it on. So I made these fingerless mittens or fingerless gloves. The pattern of the braids, I got inspired by the free pattern on Ravelry, which is called the Tilda mitts with two eyes after the T. I'll write it below. But as I was making it, I realized that I wanted to have fingerless instead of a mitten, so I just freestyled it. But there's a lot of free fingerless mitten patterns on Ravelry as well. And I am so happy with these. I wore them skiing one day when it wasn't windy, and it was perfect because you get really warm when you're cross-country skiing, and this kind of aired it out a bit. I also was able to sit outside and knit because I still had the tactile feel of my knitting needles, and one strand of yarn could fit on my finger, so that was great. And this is knit in the Briggs and Little Atlantic yarn, which is a lovely bulky weight yarn. And this pattern is made for bulky yarn, so it was a perfect fit. I still have quite a bit left. I made a hat as well. This is the Tilda hat, so it's the same, almost the same braids, just that this one is a bit wider as the mittens. And I was gonna make a pom-pom, but I always told myself I'm never gonna make a hat with a pom-pom because I feel like, at least in Norway, that's what children wear. But then as I made this hat, I realized this needs a pom-pom. So I was considering making it with the yarn, but then I think I want to save this yarn and use it for something else later. So I got one of these faux fur pom-poms at a local yarn store, and I still need to attach it on the inside. It has like one of those bands, and I just used a safety pin so that I could show you today. But I still need to fasten that. And I can show you the hat. So yeah, so this is the Tilda hat, and the Tilda yet modified fingerless mittens gloves. The reason I felt like it needed a pom-pom is that because of the braids, it kind of got like a pointy shape, and I prefer one of like the beanie shape of hats. So with the pom-pom, I thought it looked cute. So yes, and this yarn feels quite hard to the touch when you're knitting with it. It's a rustic yarn. It's 100% wool. I love it, and it softened up beautifully when I washed it. After I just knitted this, I could almost not get my fingers together because it was so stiff, but now it's soft and lovely. And also, I don't feel like this hat itches. Maybe if I start sweating, it will itch on the forehead, but that happens to me with every kind of wool except for cashmere, like this one and the original in the Cardiff cashmere. Those don't itch on my forehead, but this one will probably itch a little bit if I get too warm. But it's really nice and thick and perfect for the winter days. And sadly the snow is melting and we're going into spring, but I will have them ready for the next season. So I'm really, really happy with it. And I had 2 skeins of this Briggs and Little Atlantic yarn, and I have this much left, so it went a far way, I'd say. Not sure what I'll make with the remainders yet, but I will come up with something, that's for sure. All right. So gonna have to finish that pom-pom and then that will be ready. And I also had to cast on something else with the lovely yarn. She also sent me a sock yarn from Briggs and Little, the duraspft yarn. This lovely light gray color. It's a bit heathered and lovely. So I cast on a sock, and I can put in a sock blocker. I haven't fastened the ends yet because I just finished it, and I'm gonna make the other sock before I finish it all up completely. All right, so I think the sock yarn knitted up beautifully. I really love the look of this yarn. It feels quite rustic yet soft, and I think when I wash it, it will get a lot softer, but it has nylon content in it because it's wool and nylon. I think 20% nylon. So it will hold its shape up nicely. I did the mohair heel from my mohair pattern. And on the front, I did 3 braids, which are not in the pattern because the pattern is just a vanilla pattern, but I just added some braids to the side, like a simple twist braid, and then this is not the best to show on a sock blocker when it's on the front, but one of these braids and another twist braid, and they go all the way down to the heel, and then I did a rounded heel closure instead of the Kitchener stitch heel, which is Kitchener stitch toe, which is another toe, but I've been feeling the rounded toe lately. So that's what I did. And I have just about casted on the second one, and I'm using 2.25 millimeters circulars, and I think when I measured these from tip to tip, they're like 11, almost 12 inches from tip to tip, like here. And these were a bit painful the first time I made a sock, but then after that I loved it. So yeah, I'm really, really, really happy with these circular needles. I think this is Sandnes Garn, a Norwegian yarn producer. I think this is their brand, but they have these small circulars in a lot of different needle brands, and yeah, I'm really happy with them. I knit a lot faster. I started out knitting socks on DPNs, then I switched to Magic Loop, and then I did Magic Loop with 2 socks at a time, and then I started with these small circulars, and I don't think I'm ever going back. Honestly, it's my preferred method. Yes. And what else? I did end up washing the body of my cabled sweater. I measured it before washing it, and then I measured it again after washing it, because I wanted to see how much it shrunk up, because I had been told that when you knit with Holst Supersoft, which I did for this, that the length shrinks when you wash it and wear it. So I wanted to wash it before starting the sleeves. However, it didn't shrink. I measured it before washing and after washing and blocking it, and it's exactly the same length. And I did not measure it when I was like putting it on the bathroom floor to dry. So I don't know if that's because I held the yarn double and did structured work across the whole of the sweater, if that's why, that it's maybe it shrinks more with stockinette and there's no stockinette in this, but I'm not sure. Maybe it will shrink if I keep washing it, but I did rinse this out several times, so I don't know. But I will just make the sleeves a bit longer just in case and see how well it goes. And yeah, I will have to start those sleeves, but I still haven't quite decided on how I want to do them, but I will get to that. If you're interested in this, I talk a lot about it in previous episodes, so you can always go back. I have a playlist on my YouTube channel where all the episodes are in a chronological order. If you're a new viewer, you can always go and check that out. But yes, this will be done eventually. And I went to a yarn store in the neighboring city on the way up to the mountain, and that's where I found the pom-pom, and that's also where I found soles for my grandmother's Lumi socks. I made the Lumi sock pattern by Fiber Tales. My grandmother wanted them in blue, not my preferred color, but she loves blue, and she has blue eyes and blue suits her. So I made the Lumi socks, but she's not too good on her feet, so I wanted to put something underneath it so that they became less slippery. And I was looking for soles in my local yarn store here in the city, but they didn't have any. They had this thing, which I got, which is like sock stop, it's called. You put these drops underneath the socks and let it dry for 10 hours. And then it's like an anti-slippery, rubbery substance. But I didn't really want to use that for my grandmother's socks. I wanted it to be more, I don't know, elegant solution, if you will. And I think she will like these rubber soles. So they didn't have a name. They just had them hanging, and it was like either men's or women's, and no name. I don't even know what they're made of, but I think they will work for her to not slip. It doesn't look like leather to me. It's probably some suede, fake artificial suede or something like that. But yeah, I think this will work nicely. I had some scrap yarn with me, luckily, in a bluish color, so I sewed them on with that, and I can try and show you. Yeah. So I think this will work nicely for her. So I'll send them with my dad next time he goes to visit her, so she can get her socks before summer comes. Although I think she'll wear warm socks all year around because she's always cold on her feet. And of course, when I went to a yarn store, I do have problems containing myself when it comes to not buying more yarn. Are you the same? You know, we are doing the stash along this year, knitting from stash, and I do think that I am doing a good job knitting from my stash. But this month I've also been indulging myself a little bit in stash acquisitions. So I did buy 2 skeins of yarn from that store. And I also went back and bought some more alafosslopi yarn for a sweater that I'll show you soon. And I might also have splurged a bit online, but that doesn't count until it's here. That confession can wait. So I got some sock yarn from Regia, Regia Stretch, Uni and Color. They had a sale on this yarn, and I do really like to have some white or light colored sock yarn to use for contrast toes and heels, even though white isn't the most convenient color to use on socks, but I think it's pretty, so I do use it. So I got this one, which will go into my sock yarn stash, and I got this gorgeous Kauni yarn, which is just a gradient with grays, from lighter gray to darker gray. I have I designed some patterns which uses Kauni as an option for the background color in the Selbu cowl, zigzag cowl, and Vikafjell cowl. And it's just a very slow gradient, which is really nice. So it's not like a stripy, but more like a slowly changing color, which I really like. And this is that store is the only one that I have found that carries Kauni, and I just had to get this one. I have no idea yet what I will make with it. Maybe I'll make more of those cowls for presents, or maybe I'll make a shawl at one point, because I do want a warm woolly shawl. Now I have this warm alpaca, I have my Tilda scarf, and I do have my Vertices Unite, but it's in a superwash color, superwash yarn, so it's not as warm. So maybe I will make this as a shawl. We shall see. But I will definitely make something from this. So this was just an acquisition because I might not be able to get it later from that place. So yes, now it's mine. So I cast it on a sweater. I cast it on 2 sweaters, but one of them is downstairs, so I will have to go get that. But let's do this one first. So I had some yarn in my stash to make a sweater which is called the alasuq polar. It's a thick colorwork sweater from a book. It's called Villmarks Strikk, I think. Yes. It's a Norwegian designer, and I think she's also releasing her books in other languages, because I saw that she's releasing her second book, and it's going to be coming out also in Swedish, Russian, and Finnish. And she wrote it in English, so I think it's also out in English. I think it would be weird if not. Yeah. But she uses a lot of rustic yarns, which I personally love. She uses Tilda, my favorite, from Hillesvåg. She uses Finul, my favorite, from Rauma. And she uses lettlopi and alafosslopi from Istex. And these are all woolly yarns, which are great for colorwork. And I had bought yarn to make the alasuq polar. However, I had bought the contrast colors I had bought were very typical me. They were a mossy green, dark gray, browns, orangey, very earthy tones. But then as I was trying to put them together for the colorwork, there was like, the contrast wasn't enough. And also I already have one of her sweaters in a mossy green, and I wanted a different version. And Easter is coming up, and every year when April comes around, I get like a color burst of inspiration. I just want something bright to welcome spring and the crocuses and the Easter lilies and the lighter days and the melting snow. And yes, so last year I made 3 super colorful sweaters, and this is the first one of this year. So I went to the store and I got some extra colors. I got this green, which is a different green than I had, and I got the blue and the purple. Blue and purple is not what I typically go for, but the combination of these colors were just Easter to me. This is spring, this is happy, and I think I will love this. I was trying to get it finished in 4 days so that I could wear it skiing, but that didn't happen. Because this is knit on 6mm needles, so it flies by. But when I got to this section right here, there was a lot of stitches on the needles and 3 colors at a time, and I had forgot to bring my interchangeable needle set for the 6mm. So I only had a small circumference. I think I had 60 centimeters circumference, and that was a lot of stitches to have on 60mm. So it was all tied up in 3 colors and trying to get the color work to be even, and it was a bit of a struggle. So it took a bit longer than I had hoped for, so I didn't get to wear it skiing this time, but that's okay. It will still be ready for Easter because I am doing the neck right now, and then I will fasten all the million ends and wash it, and it will be ready to wear for Easter. And honestly, my alafosslopi sweater that I already have, it's the thickest and warmest sweater that I own. And surprisingly enough, I don't wear it in the winter, I wear it in the summer. Because I like to go camping, and Norwegian summer evenings can get pretty cold. So then it's really, really nice to have this super thick sweater that kind of gives off heat to put on in the evening. And I think that these colors will work beautifully in the summer as well. So I am really happy with how this is looking. I knit the size medium, and I think it will be a nice fit, maybe a few centimeters of positive ease on me, which is perfect because this is almost like an outdoor wear. It's almost like a jacket, only in a sweater form. So it's not something that I wear next to skin, so I could wear another sweater underneath to make it even warmer. And I opted for just binding off the body and sleeves because it's knit bottom up, and it tells you to put these on hold and then probably knit them together, but I just bound off and I'll just sew them together because I think that works out just as fine and it's easier. So yeah, that's what I did. I also did a few changes to the pattern, not to the how the color patterning is, but more instead of using, let's say this was supposed to be yellow here and white there, I made blue here and blue here. I just made some different choices to kind of get the colors to show as much as I wanted them to. So yeah, this is almost ready to be worn, and I'll run down and get my other sweater that I made. So I'll be right back. All right, so Suzanne sent me a lot of beautiful yarn, and there was this one single skein of silk mohair, which was hand dyed by, oh man, I think it was Handmaiden. I'll see if I have the tag still in my bag. So I didn't have that tag in my bag, but I think it's Handmaiden. I will write below here the name. And it was this beautiful golden yarn. Isn't it pretty? And it has like orangey gold and then yellowy gold tones to it. It's beautiful. So I asked on Instagram, because I had heard a rumor that you could make the Ranunculus with only one skein of silk mohair. That is 400 meters of silk mohair, that is. And a lot of people got back to me saying, yes, you definitely can. A lot of people had made the Ranunculus, the short-sleeved version, with one skein of silk mohair held together with a fingering weight yarn. But I only had the silk mohair, and I only wanted to use the silk mohair. So I decided to just go for it. So I got the Ranunculus pattern, which is a one size fits all kind of pattern. I don't really know how you could make it fit all, but I guess you would change your gauge and that way it could fit all. So I did a small, tiny swatch because I didn't want to waste any yarn because I was going to need all of it. And I ended up pretty much hitting gauge with the recommended needle size, which was 6 millimeters. And I cast on. It gives you two kinds of necklines options. So I of course did the third one. I did the Norwegian cast on because I'm a bit lazy and I don't always want to learn new techniques. I used to when I started knitting. What I would do is for every new project I would pick a pattern that had one new technique, and that's kind of how I improved myself one step at a time. But now I have knitted 50 plus sweaters, and I have found some techniques that I know are my favorites and that I know work for me, and the Norwegian cast on is one of those. So I did the Norwegian cast on, I did the yoke, and then I opted for the short sleeve version, but I just put the sleeves on hold and I did the body just because I wanted to see how much yarn I had. So I did the body to the recommended length, which I think was probably here, and I bound off, and then I equally divided the remaining yarn I had into two balls to make the sleeves, and then I made one sleeve. I kind of disregarded the pattern at this point and I just knitted the sleeve as long as I liked. I tried it on and figured that this was plenty long enough for the short sleeve version because I wasn't going to have enough for the long sleeve anyways. So I figured this was a nice length for me. I did the other sleeve and I tried it on, and I am a tall person. A lot of Norwegian people are tall people. I'm almost 180. I'm 177 centimeters. So the length of the recommended length on me, it didn't even hit my waist. So it was more like a bralette. And that's not really what I was going for. And I still had more yarn left. So what I did is I spent a good hour at least picking up or unpicking the bind off, and then I continued knitting until I had probably like this much yarn left, and I tried it on and it was perfect. It hits just a few 1 centimeters below my waist or something too, so that when I wear it with high-waisted jeans it has that perfect length for a crop top, in my opinion, which is at the smallest point of the waist. So yeah, I did the short sleeve version of the Ranunculus with the recommended needle size, did the sleeves just a tiny bit longer and the body just a tiny bit longer, and I still had a tiny bit of yarn left. So this gives me a lot of hope for all my single silk mohair skeins that I have in my stash, and also some hope for leftover silk mohair that I have from other projects, that I can make a garment that I will love and wear. And I think I'm at risk of becoming like the lovely Heather and Hops podcast. If you haven't watched it, you should see it. But I was talking to her about the Ranunculus because she has made a lot of them, and I think I'm at risk of becoming as addicted to this pattern as she is. And I can see myself also making this with other types of yarn as well, because it is a lovely structured yoke. You'll probably see it more clearly with a less fuzzy yarn, but it still has a bit of interest, which I really enjoy. Alright, so that is all of the knitting that I've been doing since the last time. And now if you have a beverage of something lovely to drink, sit down and knit with me for a bit. And I will work on the neckline of my sweater. So I'm sitting on the floor again. I'm looking forward to moving into my old place and getting organized. Because I love living at my cousin's place, but I'm also looking forward to organizing my life again and not living out of a suitcase. And also maybe decluttering a bit. I think I have some hoarding tendency when I was looking at my storage room. I definitely have a lot of things that I forgot that I had and that I clearly don't need in my life. So maybe I can go through it and donate some stuff to a charity shop. Oh, and I forgot to say, this sweater is a mix of alafosslopi and lettlopi. Because if you didn't know, the lettlopi yarn from Istex is half the thickness of the alafosslopi. So you can hold it double, and that makes it the same thickness. And that expands the color horizon, because there are a lot of colors in lettlopi that they don't have in alafosslopi, and vice versa. So I used the beige, blue, and pink in the alafosslopi, and then I used the yellow, green, and orange in the lettlopi. And these I held double. So I still have quite a bit of the contrasting colors left, which I can use in another project later. So yes, what was I saying? Yeah, so decluttering is definitely high on the list. I just really want to paint the kitchen cabinets because there are no windows in my kitchen, so it's quite dark, and the whole apartment is from, is it 1989, and all the walls are wood panels, and the kitchen is wood and the floor is wood, so it's a lot of wood, and they haven't been painted, but they gave me the okay to paint the kitchen, so I'm looking forward to get that into a lighter color, because it will then reflect light a bit better and it won't be as dark, which will be really nice. So last time I was talking about how I was starting my new job as a pediatrician, and I started there and I really loved the work environment. All my colleagues were so lovely, the sweetest people, and the children too were so sweet, and I really enjoyed that part of the job. However, it was a lot of computer work and very little hands-on, which is fine, but I just realized that it wasn't for me. I prefer to have a bit more speed and to do more procedure kind of work as a doctor, and I'm just not a fan of sitting behind a computer, which is unavoidable in today's society. As a doctor, it's a lot of computer work. You have to document everything, and sometimes you have to document everything in 3 different programs just to make it easy. And so what happened is I got a job offer from obstetrics and gynecology, which is the ward right next to the pediatric ward. And I just realized that that is what I want to do. I would love to be a gynecologist, or more specifically, I would love to be an obstetrician, to work with C-sections and deliveries and fertility, and more of a hands-on approach to the medical field. So I switched specialities. So tomorrow I am starting fresh again in the specialization pathway to become an obstetrician and gynecologist, because in Norway they are the same field. They're not 2 separate wards. You do both here. So I am really excited about that, and I will still get to work with my lovely colleagues, because we share the on-call room kind of with each other. So I think it's gonna be really nice. I'm also a bit nervous because it is a lot of new things to learn, and a lot of new faces and a lot of new names, but I think it's gonna be great. I feel like it's the right decision. So yeah, busy week ahead. New job, painting a kitchen, unpacking when that is done, and in the midst of this, I also need to get some knitting done. But I thought it would be nice to record an episode today because I had an hour to myself before my cousin comes home. So I figured it was nice to do it now so it won't be too late or too long between the episodes. So then hopefully in a week, maximum two, I will be sitting in my apartment and trying to find a nice spot to record episodes for you. So until then, I hope you are doing well. I hope you're knitting on something fantastic and that you're staying safe and that you're just loving life as it is right now. And I will talk to you guys soon. Bye! So I forgot to draw the winner of the Rustic Knit Along, which ran until the end of February. I closed down the thread on our Knitting Traditions podcast group on Ravelry on the 1st of March. And there were almost 1,000 participants, which is insane. So if you want some inspiration for some rustic knitting, go and check that thread out. So I went on Google and I put in the number of participants, and then I picked a random number, which was 563. And then I went on to Ravelry and scrolled to find, and 563, as you see here, is by Allison827. She finished her wheat sheaves cardigan using Tilda. This was a reknit of a cardigan, and this lovely pattern that she made is a free pattern by Elizabeth McCartan. So Allison827, please message me so I can send the lovely parcel to you. I see that you're from Canada and you love neutrals, cool colors, greens and purples. And then I think this lovely bag from the Urban Stitcher, which is one of the prizes, is right up your alley. And inside it I have 2 skeins of Rauma Finul, which are great for color work. And I am also including, I'm a mess today. I'm also including the pattern for the Selbu cowl, my pattern, as a prize in this giveaway, and I will send that your way. And for the 2 patterns from Istabagul, which were kindly donated as well to this giveaway, the 2 winners were actually drawn from using the hashtag on Instagram. I spent a good hour calculating and going down the photos with the hashtag to find the random number, and those 2 people have already been contacted. So yeah, that was the Rustic Knit Along prize, and we still have the stash along going for all of 2021. So if you want to win some prizes, you can either post into the finished thread on Ravelry, I'll put the links and everything below, or you can use the hashtag on Instagram, and I'll also be drawing some prizes from there. Alright,